Okay, let's continue.
Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Tabete, we ended up with page 1643 of reference bundle E, which is the letter that you had written to Estina on the 12th of August, 2014. And you were telling us what paragraph 5 meant.
Yes, Chair.
And I indicated that I would want to take issue with you on your interpretation of paragraph 5.
Okay, Chair.
And I want to put to you that my interpretation of what you are saying in paragraph 5 is the following. Do not raise the tax invoice in full or in part, is what you say. Now, a tax invoice really is simply an invoice, a formal invoice, to put it correctly.
Okay.
It has your address and the other party's address. It's got a VAT number, both supplier and the person who's preparing it. And you have itemized billing on a VAT invoice, on a tax invoice, and then of course you've included your VAT.
That's correct.
That's all. And the only reason it's called a tax invoice, you see, we advocates have to prepare these all the time.
Yes.
When we bill, we have to bill using this form because we pay tax on the basis of these documents that we submit. So all it is really is that you are formally stating unequivocally that these are the charges or these are the costs that you are claiming. So you'd agree with that broad interpretation of what a tax invoice is?
Yeah. Chair, I want to put it the correct way. The letter that I had signed after the cancellation, we had to do a very careful wording of this letter, and I was assisted by the state law advisors in the drafting of this letter. My understanding might not be entirely be the correct one in each and every paragraph, but this was the understanding that we will then issue them with this letter, and this is the letter that they will then use as a basis of concluding.
Well, you must tell me whether you agree with the interpretation of paragraph 5 that Mr. Basha has put to you. And if you don't, why you are not able to agree.
So with your leave, Chairman, may I start again? Mr.
Yeah.
Tabete,
Yes,
shall I
Chair.
just start again?
Yes.
Because I'm actually breaking down
Okay,
the different elements of paragraph 5.
okay, that's good.
So as I was saying, I was giving you my understanding of a tax invoice. You may not or may not agree with that. It's a formal invoice that
Yeah.
has certain details on it.
That's correct.
So you are saying do not present. To raise a tax invoice means to present it. Do you agree with me?
Yes, I hear.
So do not present your tax invoice in full or in part for the handover of the assets. So I'm pausing here. My understanding is in respect of the handover of the assets, do not present your tax invoice in full or in part.
Okay.
Am I right about that?
Okay, I hear you. Yes.
Or would you agree with that?
Yes.
And the reason I say that is because if you go to paragraph 3, I just want to give context. The same letter, paragraph 3, you say, please be informed that the department is still in the process of processing your payments as per the payment schedule indicated in the agreement. Yes?
That's
Yeah.
correct.
Now, we know that the payment schedule in the agreement is the one that sets out that the 106 million is due for services rendered. Can I just take you back to that agreement, cancellation agreement? Thank you. The cancellation agreement is in bundle B for Bernard or Bread, at page 563. B, little b in it. 563, and then we find the obligations of the department on 564. B for Bernard.
I've got too many of
Files
these
open,
files that
Chairman.
are open here now in front of me, Mr. Bash. So I'm closing them. If and when we need to go back to them, we'll have to.
Indeed, sir,
Have
but
a
we are
look.
almost done, Chairman. I hope you won't
Yes.
have to open some of them.
Okay.
B for Bernard,
Yes, and what page?
page 563 to 564, Chair.
5, 6.
3 is the front cover of the agreement, the cancellation agreement. B for
Oh,
Bernard,
this is
563,
reference bundle. It's the
563.
reference bundle.
Reference bundle, sir.
Oh, I was looking at the reports one.
563 is the cover
So
page.
take this one back.
Yes, I think you can take the reports bundle away completely. And
Yes.
so the page that deals with the obligations of the department is 564, Chairman. And we had paragraph 1.2 thereof, Mr. Tabete, which speaks of value for money. This is where we started this discussion earlier on. Why did you pay them this 106 million? We have value for money. And we dealt with Diomart, and now we're here. Good. So here you are saying you are undertaking to pay them 106,252,000, somewhere in that region, in the following amounts: 30 million on or before the 30th of September 2014, 76,252,000 plus by the 30th of June 2015. And then you say, of course, this payment is subject to the availability of funds. And then, should funds not be sufficient, you will reschedule. And over the page, you then put out the schedule. June 30th, 2015, 30 September 2015, 30 June 2016 is what you propose. So this is, I understand, the payment schedule.
That's correct.
Okay, don't lose that page. We are now going back to your letter, because remember, I'm trying to work through my understanding of your letter that is in bundle E at page 1643. That's where we were. Back to your letter, to Estina.
That's good.
So you say, we are processing your payments, is what you say in paragraph 3. And then in 5 you say, hold on with your tax invoice in respect of the handover of assets
Okay.
until the complete payments as per the agreement is transferred into your account, full stop.
Okay.
What I understand you to say is, allow us to pay you the 106 million. After we have paid you that 106 million, once that full payment has been transferred to your account, then the next sentence reads, as soon as the payment is done, you may raise a tax invoice for the full value of the project
Okay.
to the entity that's going to be taking over. We'll tell you who those people are.
Okay.
Am I correct? Right.
You are nodding, Mr. Tabete.
Um,
The record won't capture the nodding. You agree with the suggestions Mr. Bash has just made?
Yes, Chair. I'm nodding because I'm not sure whether I understood it very well.
Well, don't nod if you are not sure if you understood. Tell her you don't understand.
So let's go back to it, Mr. Tabete. I've just broken it up, but I do
Yeah.
want you to tell me where I am misunderstanding your sentence. So I'd rather you said yes or no than not. And if you don't understand, please just indicate as much.
Okay, that's correct.
I think we're agreed that first we said the tax invoice, don't present it. Raising it means don't present it. We agreed on that, ne?
Okay, that's correct.
In full or in part, okay? But that tax invoice is in respect of the handover of assets. You may want to think about that before you give me a full answer. Is that what you mean here, for the full handover of assets?
Yeah. Chair, I may, it's a very difficult question. I may, for me to be able to answer, might need me to go back in consultation with the state law advisors.
Well, but this is a letter that you wrote This is paragraph 5 that you wrote.
Yes, Chair.
Ms. Kabashe is putting to you her understanding of what you wrote.
That's correct.
You must be able to say, no, that is not what it means, or I see what you say it means, but this is what I intended to convey. You shouldn't need the state law advisor for that.
Yeah, Chair, my original explanation was that they shouldn't give us the tax invoice with regard to the asset raised in this regard until everything is done. That was my understanding, that they shouldn't do that, because if they raise a tax invoice, my understanding was that they may be subject to claim the tax in this regard. So hence we then needed to do a lot of things before then we are able to say, yes, you can raise a tax invoice, or no, you cannot raise a tax invoice.
Mr. Tabete, that's exactly where you lost me earlier on, which is why I wanted us to go back and break it down in little pieces.
Yes.
Because you had agreed in the cancellation agreement to the quantum, to the sum that you were going to pay.
Yes.
Correct. And I thought you and I had an agreement that what a tax invoice is just the formal invoice that you present.
Yes, that's correct.
Now, where you and I seem to be missing each other is in respect of what it is you were telling them to hold on to until you had transferred all of the 106 million into their account.
That's correct.
Are you okay with that?
That's correct,
Right.
yes.
What were you asking them to hold back until such time as you had paid them the 106 million that this agreement refers to as the payment that is due? Maybe that will help us.
Yeah. Chair, if you raise a tax invoice, it means on the amount that you are saying is due, then you say plus tax, then it will increase the amount. Then my understanding was that in terms of the value of the asset, you may not then come and say this is the value of what is due to us plus 14% at that time tax. That's what we were saying, do not do that.
No, but Mr. Tabete, in the agreement, you had stipulated an amount that they should claim from you. In the agreement.
That's correct,
You have
Chair.
stipulated the amount.
Yes.
When we look at how you arrive at that 106, you go to page 568 of the same agreement, same bundle you're still looking at. Please go to page 568. No, same bundle. It's where the letter. It's part of the agreement, I beg your pardon, of cancellation.
It's on the other file, Chair.
Agreement of cancellation. It is, you're correct, in file B. So I want you to go to page 568.
Yes, Chair.
There you see the balance dues, 106,000 and
Okay.
some, 106 million, I beg your pardon.
That's correct, Chair.
106 million, 252, 652
That's correct, Chair.
rands. But of course, when you look at that particular schedule, there is provision that has been made for VAT.
Okay.
So what is the tax that you are concerned with? Because here's VAT and provision has been made for that, and your total comes to just over 106 million. Which tax were you worrying about?
Yeah, Chair, let me go back again. For only all service providers, which issues you with a VAT or a tax invoice, they are subject to go back and claim that invoice back from SARS. Hence we are saying to them, do not raise, because we are well aware that in a number of instances, you pay them the VAT for the assets, and then when they make their filing of VAT, for tax compliance, they claim that VAT back. If it is indicated in the invoice, but if it is not indicated in the invoice, they cannot claim it back.
But Mr. Tabete, you had already undertaken in the agreement to pay them 106 million rand, 2052, 652,000.
Exactly, Chair, because we know that it has been paid. They cannot, you see, if they do that, it becomes a double payment for them. They benefit because they will claim it back.
Mr. Tabete, if they do what? You say if they do that. If they do what?
If they
I'm trying to follow also, Mr. Tabete. I'm not following what you are saying.
Chair, if you are VAT registered, you are working with the department, we file our submissions to SARS as a department to say, it is so much VAT that this company has paid, so that when they file their submission, they are able to claim the VAT back if they are VAT registered. But if our submission to SARS says we did not charge them VAT, it means they will not be able to claim it back. Hence, we were saying they mustn't file it.
Mr.
It means,
I think,
I beg your pardon.
I think let's go back to Mr. Kabashe's question. Paragraph 5. What is it that Estina was entitled to do, which you were saying they mustn't do? Just tell us that again. In paragraph 5. Is there something they were entitled to do, which you were saying they mustn't do? And if so, what was it?
What we were saying they shouldn't do, Chair, is that they mustn't file for VAT, claiming that in buying these assets, they have paid VAT.
But Mr. Tabete, the amount that is in the agreement is an amount you agreed to, number one. It includes provision for VAT, number
Yes,
two.
Yes, Chair.
Third and most important, what you are saying in paragraph 5 is, don't issue that tax invoice until we have paid that money into your account. Allow us to pay the 106 million into your
That's
account.
correct, Chair.
So the whole amount with the VAT consideration is what you are saying. Let us pay you that money. Once we have transferred it, we can talk about assets and whatever else 5 might be referring to, paragraph 5 might be referring to.
Yeah, let me go back to it again, Chair. All we are saying is that in all these items, you have paid VAT, and we have calculated the VAT in paying it back to you. But we don't, because what is very key when you go to SARS is your tax invoice. If you say, the department, I have given the department assets in which I have paid VAT, therefore this VAT must be paid back to me. And we are saying, if that happens, it will mean we have paid you the money, over and above that, you can claim your VAT back. It means they're going to get more money. That is my understanding, Chair.
What was your concern? What was going to be wrong if you didn't write that paragraph 5?
It would mean, Chair, that when we do our submission to SARS, we would also confirm that they are liable to get VAT back.
And then?
It means then they would receive more than what we would have paid them.
Is that what you do all the time with all the service providers? Is that what you write to service providers who present tax invoices?
This was a different one because we were terminating here, Chair. But this is what we...
Why should it make a difference?
No,
in terms of SARS?
Let me say we do it, Chair. We do submissions to everybody. No,
I mean this kind of letter, this kind of paragraph, do you write it to service providers, to all of them?
No,
when they present you with tax invoices?
No, we do not, Chair.
Why not? Wouldn't you have the same concern with regard to all of them? If they were just presenting you with invoices, including VAT, would the same concern not arise?
It is possible, Chair, but in this instance, we had then to deal with it differently.
But why don't you, if it's a legitimate concern, it must be a legitimate concern with all the service providers that send you tax invoices, isn't it?
I hear you, Chair.
So why do you not do the same with regard to all the others?
I hear you, Chair, but like I explained, we had said and we had discussed this with the state law advisors. We had agreed we should include this statement. And my explanation is my understanding. It's difficult for me to explain it beyond my understanding.
Yes,
Because
Mr. Rasha.
what I had explained is what I understood it to mean.
You see, the reason that this still doesn't make sense, certainly not to me, Mr. Tabete, is VAT is an output cost. When you bill for VAT, it's not your money, you pass it on. It's not that you would have paid them more than was due to them were they to take VAT into account. VAT is not mine to keep. VAT I must pass back to the taxman. Is that not correct? VAT is never the money that accrues to the person who's presenting the account.
Chair,
It's a tax that goes away. It's not yours to keep.
Of course you accept that, don't you?
no, Chair, I would not agree.
You say VAT
not
doesn't
to
go
pay.
to SARS.
Must.
Huh? You say VAT is not SARS money.
It is SARS money, Chair.
Yes.
So why do you say you don't agree?
No, what I don't agree, Chair, is that SARS should pay back.
So were you concerned whether SARS was going to pay back some money that it shouldn't pay, was going to pay to Estina money that it should not pay to Estina?
That's correct, Chair.
You think SARS would do that?
I don't know, Chair, but from our side, that's what we were saying, Chair.
Mr. Basha,
Thank you, Chairman. This is the first time that you haven't looked after Estina's interests. This time you're looking after SARS's interests because you are worried about what SARS may have to pay back. All along you've been telling us all about how Estina needs to be protected in one way or the other. Very strange. You notice that all along you've been telling us why you can't do certain things. Estina wouldn't be able to do whatever. You're protecting Estina's interests. The chairman has pointed it out a number of times. This time you're saying now SARS is the interest that you're protecting.
Not really, Chair. Not what you're saying, not really. What is it that's not that you are saying not really true?
The statement that now I seem to be moving from protecting Estina to protecting SARS.
You mean you don't like the idea that Mr. Wash is saying you are moving away from protecting Estina? You'd like her to say you are continuing to protect Estina?
Not that I don't like to protect, but the way it has been put, it says that my interest has not been in the project. That's what I'm reading into it, but that's why I say I don't agree.
Yes, okay. Continue.
But we can, I think, Chairman, the rest will just make submissions
Okay.
on our understanding, and from the record, the transcript, we'll make submissions on this point.
Maybe let's put this. Was Estina not entitled to include VAT when you said they mustn't raise tax invoice?
Hence, we were saying, Chair, later.
Or even obliged?
Later, we can look at that.
No, but as at the time. were they not entitled, if not obliged, to include VAT?
Chair,
Your understanding. That's
my,
what I'm
my,
talking
my
about.
understanding was that VAT had been included
Already.
already. What I
You
was
thought they were going to,
double, yes, because
To
if,
you.
if you pay the VAT and you have reflected it in the invoice, then they can go and claim it back. That's what I'm trying to say, Chair.
okay, Mr. Osha, you wanted to move on.
Yes, I will simply conclude by saying the impression I am left with, and it's a submission that I will be making, Mr. Tabete, is you appeared to be saying to Estina, wait for us to pay you the full amount we have agreed in terms of the agreement.
Yes.
The fact that on the handover of assets, what you hand over does not meet that quantum that we have paid you is something we will sort out after. This is my impression. We'll sort that out afterwards. I am looking after you. I am making sure you get your 106 million.
Okay.
If the assets don't add up to 106 million, we'll see that later on. I don't want to be able to compare what I'm paying you and the assets that you are handing over.
That's good.
So that's why I'm saying hold back the assets. That's my impression of what paragraph 5 reads. So it's not favorable to you. In fact, it's saying you are again protecting Estina.
No, Chair. Because we had gone in the asset register, asset by asset, so that we had looked at. We had gone through asset by asset in the asset register to say this asset, this value, this asset, this value. So that we had done.
Thank you.
Yes, now, this tax invoice you talk about at paragraph 5, would it have been, would the VAT that you are talking about have been VAT that Estina would have bought, would have paid in purchasing those assets?
That's correct, Chair.
That's what you were talking about.
That's correct, Chair.
The assets themselves, were they not included in the 106 million, right? They are what you are going to pay for them. In other words, the assets,
Yes, they
were
were.
they included?
Yes, they were included, Chair.
And the VAT was included?
Yes, Chair. On the amount
Yes.
eventually agreed on.
Yes. But you just didn't want you to give you the bill that, the tax invoice, that reflected what already was the position.
That's correct, Chair.
Yes.
I was tempted to ask why, Chairman, but I think you've asked that. It's on record.
Yes.
Mr. Tabete, I really want to move on to the next point, if that's all right with you.
That's correct.
And it's really to just understand the FDC appointment, and more importantly, I would like to understand what you understood of the appointment of Echu Civils as the managing agent of the Vrede Dairy Farm. Do you know Echu Civils?
That's correct, Chair, I do.
You know that they assisted the FDC in managing the farm.
That's correct, Chair.
I'm here looking at an addendum to a service level agreement that was signed between the FDC and Echu Civils. Unfortunately, it's not a complete copy. You know, I think the back page wasn't copied, so you've got the front and not the next page. What I am interested in, though, is the contract price that was recorded in that agreement. If you go to page 1129 of file, reference file D, On 1129, you have addendum to Frede Integrated Dairy Project Management Service Level Agreement, 1129. Are you there? 1129.
That's correct, Chair.
And there you see Free State Development Corporation wishes to clarify that the payment plan envisaged in Annex C of the VIDP management agreement is as follows. Invoices will be paid monthly over the duration of the contract. That is over 3 years. Now, this is signed in 2016. Contract price, 32,500,000 rand, excluding VAT. What was that about? Do you know, Mr. Tabete? 32 million was going to be paid to HU Civils as a managing agent.
Yeah, Chair, we had signed an agreement to FDC to management of the project. In terms of the agreement, there was a couple of issues that we had raised with them to assist us in doing. What I know is that FDC advertised a tender. They went through their own process until then they appointed the service provider to be able to look after the project. The details, because we had requested them to say, what we had said as a department, we said we will make money available. We said to them we're going to make 20 million available for them to be able to assist over this period to make sure until a final decision has been taken. That has been agreed. So they went and advertised a tender and they appointed the managing agent to look after the project so that whilst we are busy finalizing, we should then be in a position to have the projects collapsing. So this is what FDC have entered into with EDSO.
So really you had agreed on 20 million as a contract price, or 20 million per annum with FDC? Just explain that.
Yes, we had agreed that we'll make available. We said we'll make available 20 million. We did not dictate how much is it going to be, because they are still going to come back and tell us how much is it going to cost. See, hence they went on tender. All we told them is that this is how much we will have for you to take care of the project. And after a period of 3 years, we should have concluded.
No, the 20 million was for that financial year. This is all I'm trying to understand. Per month for the whole financial year, what you undertook to pay to FDC.
No, we said per annum. What we have, we did not say spend 20 million. We said what is available from us. Keep in mind, we have got this much money.
So you had 20 million per annum?
Per annum.
For a 3-year period?
That's correct.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
So 2014, 2015?
Yes.
2015, 2016?
Yes.
2016, 2017, for those 3 financial years?
That's correct, Chair.
And that is all you made available to the FDC?
That's correct, Chair.
What it agreed with its service provider had nothing to do with you?
Then they will then agree how to manage and make sure what gets done. Because in the agreement, we had also made clear what kind of activities should be covered.
Were they, and this is FDC, was FDC entitled to bill you for the additional amount they had to pay to their service provider?
FDC's responsibility was also to write to us on a monthly basis to explain for what do they use the cost for.
Were they entitled to bill you for any additional amount that they were having to pay a service provider?
Not to bill, Chair, because the money that was because FDC is a state entity. They've got their processes that they can use, which means you can transfer money to them and they spend it within, because they are prescribed how to spend. All that we needed to them, use your processes, but we expect you to tell us what are the activities that you have spent the money for.
So,
That's what we expected them to do.
so in respect of the contract price of 32,500,000 rand, were FDC expected to raise the shortfall between the 20 million that you are making available per annum and the 32,500,000 rand that they agreed they would be paying ETU, the service provider?
Chair, my understanding was that this charge was for 3 years. So it was far less than what we would pay them.
I see. So that 32,500,000 actually covered a 3-year period.
That's correct.
Not a 1-year period.
Not the 1-year period.
Oh, I should have said so at the beginning. Mr. Tabete. You know, good. That's helpful. It is. The next question, then the monthly payments would be payments that would be made to the same service provider only because it's in the agreement. What were the monthly payments for?
Chair, I understand that the tender document give details how they have arrived to this, because a lot of other service providers will also outline until eventually they decide which one. So the tender document would be able to say what informs that amount.
Now, just correct me if I'm wrong. We have discussed previously the core competencies of the FDC and the core competencies of ETU Civils, have we not?
That's correct.
And we've agreed that FDC didn't have a competency to run a dairy farm. We agreed that.
We were aware of that, Chair.
Yeah. And ETU Civils actually is a project company. They largely build houses and things like that. They don't have a core competency in the dairy farming industry. We agreed that, I think, as well.
No, we did not agree,
Okay,
Chair.
then I'm mixing you up with one of my other witnesses. Please help me.
I would prefer FDC to answer that question, Chair, because they went into the details of the CV
You see,
of ETU.
You see, Mr. Tabete, this is your money at the end of the day. You have to supervise and monitor. So you can't let a service provider, now that's at first level, the FDC, do as they please with your money. You've got to be able to rein them in and say, that's our money that you're using. And we've asked you to use it in this particular manner. You can't bring in somebody who has no core competence in dairy farming and then be surprised when things go terribly wrong. It's your job to do that.
Chair, in a tender process, it's a very difficult thing to do, because you wouldn't want to go and say, I want to see your documents before you conclude, because if you are not in the committee because there are proper structures that they are gazetted for you to be able to deal with that. So you cannot interfere and come in and say, no, I don't want you to do it this way. They had to follow the processes as they are. So you can't come in and say, FDC, I want to see all your tender documents because I have interest. You see, that's the difficulty. You have to follow the process as stipulated. So they have to do it the way they are doing it.
Can I move to the next topic? We're finishing, Mr. Tabete. I'm just doing the last few things now. Can I just take you to the lease agreements? And this is just the principle of it all. Don't worry, because you were involved in ensuring that the lease for the farm was signed on the 14th of December 2012. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Excellent. You then entered into an agreement with Estina in respect of that land. You actually entered into a 99-year lease agreement with Estina.
That's correct, Chair.
And it was renewable.
That's correct, Chair.
Why would you enter into a lease agreement with Estina Pty Limited for 99 years? So you're giving them Vrede, land in Vrede, for 99 years. And then you are saying to them, it is renewable for another 99 years. Help me understand the justification for that.
Yeah, Chair, I think we are going to it. We did discuss it. And my explanation at that time was that transfer was, you remember I was advised by the state law advisors not at that particular time transfer the land and the projects to the beneficiaries. We had then put it on hold. The understanding was that once the entity has been put in place, then we transfer the land together with the projects to the beneficiaries. Now it will become, my understanding was that we'll then transfer that land as part of the land reform project to the beneficiaries.
You know, Mr. Tabete, Mr. Fenter made it plain that he knew nothing about this 99-year lease arrangement that you had entered into with Estina. Mind you, it was rent-free.
Chair, I can go back to that. They had, through the required legislation, provided that instrument to me to be able to do so. So it becomes very difficult to me if you give me an instrument to be able to do exactly that, and you don't know.
What was the instrument, Mr. Tabete?
Chair, the delegation was the instrument. That the power to do so was then eventually delegated to the head of department.
No.
I
beg your pardon. I beg your pardon.
Yes, my apology, Chair. And also the drafting of that particular delegation for us to be able to do so.
The delegation document started with the Premier.
That's correct.
It came to the MEC.
That's correct.
Then from the MEC delegated to you
That's
the
correct.
entering into of an arrangement between the department and Phumelele local municipality.
That's correct.
That's it. The delegation document did not authorize you to enter into a lease agreement of any length of time between the department and a third party. My colleague is finding it. I know because we've looked at it many times.
Yeah, Chair, then there was no need for the delegation if it was not for a particular purpose.
The particular purpose, Mr. Tabete, is written here. Can I read you the delegation of authority document? The purpose is set out here.
Yes.
Delegation of Authority, Free State Land Administration Act, Phumelele Land Rental Agreements. 1, kindly be advised that you are hereby, oh dear Mr. Tabete, it's directed to you. Kindly be advised that you are hereby assigned the authority in terms of Section 5 of the Free State Land Administration Act, 1998, to consider and sign the proposed agreement between the Department of Agriculture and the Phumelele municipality relating to the assignment of the municipality's rights and obligations in terms of various rental agreements relating to communal land to the Department of Agriculture. Number 2, this decision should be taken in consultation with the MEC for Public Works, duly delegated by the Executive Council. 3, I trust you will find it in order. If you want to read it slowly, I can take you to the reference page. But you've understood the purpose here. Huh? Yeah. You, as the department, and Phumelele municipality. That's it.
Yeah, Chair, I want to go back to the actual meaning of the letter she's referring to. The land was being moved from the municipality into the coffers of the province, which means it will become public works land. That is my understanding, because that is the delegation that they were referring to. So the land ceased to become a municipal land. It became provincial land. It became state land.
I'm listening, Mr. Tabete, because I'm trying to understand the next leg,
Yes.
how you are going to tie up the 99-year rent-free lease,
Yes,
renewable,
yes, Chair.
to Estina with what you are saying.
Yes. Now, with my understanding that once the project has been completed, the project is going to be transferred into the entity of the beneficiaries. Now, was the ultimate goal, that we will have this land, a state land, and then we're going to be able to take this land, because you cannot have a project on a land that you are not able to put control of. Hence, that land will then become the land of the beneficiaries together with the project. That was my understanding, Chair.
Mr. Tabete, this is the agreement you entered into with Estina.
Chair, if I may come in, I agree the agreement is there,
Yes.
that we had signed to say it's a 99-year lease. But the intention, which we had all agreed also with the state law advisors, because I could have done this from the beginning, that we do this with the beneficiaries, but we've been advised that we shouldn't do it at that time. And we agreed with the evidence leader at that time that this is what we were advised to do. Hence, we then said, let's do it with Estina for now, so that we proceed with the project. Once it's completed, we transfer the land and the project to the beneficiaries.
That's fine, Mr. Tabete. Your evidence is very different to that of Mr. Fenter, who is very clear that he only got to know about the 99-year lease after the fact. They had nothing to do with that. I'm not dealing with the first part of the delegation. I'm dealing with what you then decided to do as Mr. Tabete, HOD, Department of Agriculture, in that capacity, please.
That's
Don't
correct.
misunderstand me, with Estina.
That's correct.
In that capacity, you signed this agreement that you say you are not disputing.
I agree with that, Chair.
Last one, we come to your supplementary affidavit. Chairman, the supplementary affidavit I want to deal with in conjunction with the 2018 affidavit, because, so Mr. Tabete, have they given you a loose leaf supplementary? Excellent. I also then want you to pick up your original bundles that have your affidavit. So it's Exhibit HH10A and HH10B. And because I'm summarizing, I'm hoping we can go quite quickly.
I've got them, Chair.
Excellent. Maybe we should actually start right at the end, because that may explain everything, the supplementary affidavit that you have handed up. The supplementary affidavit, Mr. Tabete, is just slightly defective because the Commissioner of Oaths did not initial every page.
Okay.
But as you heard this morning, your testimony will convert this into your evidence under oath. You are happy with that?
I'm fine, Chair.
So let's deal with this particular document. That is your name, obviously. It's your document.
Well, Mr. Washer,
Yes,
what doesn't change is that on the face of page 3, Mr. Tabete did take an oath before the Commissioner of Oaths and said this
That
is
is
true.
so.
Yeah.
That is so.
So it's true. It's not not every page is initialed, but he certainly took an oath, it seems, and said the contents are true.
Thank you, sir. So we'll accept that it is an affidavit for all intents and purposes,
That's correct, Chair.
and that it is your affidavit that you signed on the 24th day of October, 2019.
That's correct, Chair.
Thank you. Now, in this affidavit, I'm going straight to paragraph 3, because you say at paragraph 3, you depose this affidavit to rectify statements made in your previous affidavits which upon subsequent reflection by yourself could come across as misleading.
That's correct.
You're fixing things here.
That's correct.
Now, paragraph 4. Please read paragraph 4 into the record. It's your document.
Chair, paragraph 4 says, what I seek to rectify from my previous statement is that I had previously denied any direct contact with members of the Gupta family.
Good. Let's pause there. The rest you're going to speak to. I just wanted that on record, that that's the subject matter, really,
That's correct.
of this document. Tell us about your interactions with the Gupta family.
Chair, this statement comes on to say, you see the difficulty, I've not read the rest, Chair.
Well, but you read it before you took the oath before the Commissioner of Oaths.
Yes. I'm saying so because she says, pause there, explain to us.
Yes.
Because I want to explain it in context with the following paragraph.
Well, I don't think she means that she is restricting you if what follows
Okay.
will deal with her
Will deal
question.
with that.
She
Okay.
wants you to tell the Commission about your interactions with the Gupta family.
That's correct, Chair.
Only because it's your affidavit.
Yeah.
It's your experience that you are relating, whether you've written every detail here or not. Your experience is what you are relating to the chairman. That's all I'm asking you to do. Start where you believe you should start.
Yeah, Chair, my interaction was in the organization of the meeting referred to in this regard.
No, so you have to be clear which meeting referred to.
Yeah, hence, Chair, then, let me then,
You can refer to what comes after paragraph 4
that's correct,
if that helps you answer the question she has put to you.
to you. Okay, that's
Yes.
correct, Chair.
Okay.
Chair, there were a number of instances where I received calls.
From whom, Mr. Tabete?
Chair, that's where my difficulty is. Because it becomes very difficult for me to be able to say, who is this person who called me?
Okay, let's just tell us, and then we can ask questions. You received calls?
Yes, I received a call, Chair, that a meeting has been organized for me to be able to meet with people from India regarding the project.
Round about what time are we talking about when you received this call that you're talking about? 2012, 2013, 2014, 2016?
Yeah, I'm trying to think, Chair, because I had a difficulty now to be able to get access to my previous diaries.
Yes.
So for me to be able to exactly say when was it,
You can't remember?
I'm just narrating the story of what happened.
Okay, you received a call from somebody.
From somebody indicating to me, an address was given to me after I have agreed that there were people from India who would want to talk to me.
So somebody called you and said there were people from India who wanted to
Who are
meet
in
with
the
you.
country who want to meet you regarding the project.
And you did not ask this person who he was or she was.
I might have asked that time, Chair, but I can't recall and remember exactly who was that person.
Oh,
Because at that
okay.
particular time, I would have asked, who are you, what do you want?
Yes.
Yes, but the person explained to me that he wants me to come and meet a group of people who are coming from Paras in India.
Yes.
And then that rang the bell to me that I then should meet these people. Then I agreed on the meeting. And then I was given the address of the meeting.
By the same person?
By the same person.
In the same telephone conversation?
Yes. It was not one telephone conversation because they had followed up and say, are you coming? Because I was around Joburg at that particular time. Then I then accepted to come and meet them. Then I went to the address. You'll remember, Chair, I had reflected that I had not met before But upon reflection, Chair, I remember that I had met people from Paras in an address that was given to me, which comes to be the residence of the Guptas. Hence, this affidavit says I need to correct that because I had been there and I had met the Paras people in that residence.
So, somebody called you and said there were people from Parasu, from India who wanted to meet with you.
That's correct, Chair.
You don't know who that person was as you speak now.
Yes, I was told, but I can't remember now, Chair, who was the person.
You did ask at the time.
That's correct, Chair.
Was it a member of the Gupta family?
Chair, I presume because the residence was, hence I will have to admit that I have interacted with them. My supposition is that it should have been a member of the Gupta family.
Mr. Wash, I don't know if you want to take it from there. I'm trying to follow because I think what you had asked is that Mr. Tawete must just tell me the full story of his interaction with the Gupta family. Or maybe he has not yet. Maybe just tell me the full story. I met them on this occasion, I met them on that occasion, I met them on that occasion, I met them only once, and this was the context. This is how the meeting came about.
Yeah, Chair, that's the difficulty I have because the direct interaction was for them to be able to say, to take me to the residence and meet with the people from India, which was Paras.
Okay. So, did you meet only once with somebody or people from the Gupta family? Is it only once that you met with one or more members of the Gupta family?
I think this was the only meeting where I had a direct interaction when I was coming to meet the people from Paras.
Let's talk about the meetings. Let's leave out interactions that might not have taken the form of a meeting. In terms of meetings.
Meetings, Chair, in a number of instances, in what did we call this SABC?
The breakfast.
The breakfast shows.
Yeah.
I don't know if I should say I have met them there.
Or you were present at some of the breakfast shows where they were present too.
That's correct, Chair.
But in terms of an actual meeting, where it was yourself and one or more members of the Gupta family, with or without other people, but the idea being you are in a meeting where they are participating and you are participating, other than breakfast, shows.
This was the only meeting, Chair.
This was the only meeting?
That's correct.
Do you remember which member of the Gupta family was present at this particular meeting? Or which members?
You see, Chair, I don't want to make a mistake of saying which one because they are very difficult to...
Yes, but was it one or was it more than one member of the Gupta family?
It was one person, Chair.
It was one person.
This is the person that introduced me
yes.
to the person that I was supposed to meet.
Yes.
That's correct.
And this meeting took place at the Gupta residence in Saxonwold.
That's correct, Chair.
And you can't remember which year it was, or can you?
It was not very long, Chair, because what they wanted me to do was to assist them with work permits. That was the whole idea of the meeting, why they wanted me, because they wanted to bring in people. And then my responsibility was to assist them to get the work permits.
Yes, but my question is, are you saying you can't remember which year it was when you had this only one meeting?
I think the year, Chair, was 2013.
2013?
Yeah, if I remember very well.
Yes.
Chair.
Yes. And the person who had called you to tell you about this meeting, did that person attend the meeting as well?
I see, that's what I did not check, because when I arrived, I did not check if you were the person that was calling me. But when I arrived there, I was welcomed by somebody who took me to the meeting and introduced me to the people who were in the meeting.
Yes, you said you can't remember the name of the person who called you, but you think it was a member of the Gupta
I think
family.
it was a yes, Chair.
Yes, yes. Miss,
Thank you, Chairman. She reminded me that I'd switched the mic off
Oh.
to allow you to be very audible as you are asking
yes.
Mr. Tabete questions. Mr. Tabete,
Yes.
maybe I should turn this around and go back to I'll come back to the issues you've just raised.
That's good.
I'm just trying to jog your memory as well. If we go back to your affidavit you made in respect of the asset forfeiture matter,
That's good.
there you said that, at first you said in 2018 that you had been negotiating with Mr. Varun Gupta. Maybe I should take you to that paragraph so that we are clear about what you said.
That's
So,
correct, Chair.
it should be on page 11. There are 2 pages I want you to hold on to. Page 11
Which
of
one?
Exhibit HH10A, Chairman.
Thank you.
That's the 2018 affidavit. And then
Sorry.
if you hold on to page 11, I also then want you to go to page 111.
Oh, hang on. I thought I didn't have it. Okay, what's the page?
The
111.
first one is 11, Chairman. The second one is 111.
Thank
And
you.
Chairman, I would refer you to the copy right at the back because it's the clear one. You know, there's one that's a bit fuzzy.
Yes.
But the same numbering is used on the one that the attorneys provided us,
Okay.
just to clarify, so we could have a clear copy.
But for now, I must just look at 111.
111, as long as you're looking at the clear one, Chairman,
Yeah,
because
it is
it's easier
clear.
to read.
Yeah,
And
it is
then,
clear.
of course, 11.
Yes.
Good. So the first thing I want to explore with you is in 2018, you spoke about, just give me 1 minute, Mr. Tabet. And that would be at page 111.
That's correct, Chair.
You spoke about, at paragraph 47,
That's correct, Chair.
the negotiations and implementation of the Freedom project. And you say here that Estina was represented by Varun Gupta and Sanjeev Gautam, and Para was represented by Gajendra Kumar. That's what you write in 2018.
That's correct, Chair.
Then in 2019, you give the commission an affidavit. That's the page 11 I have referred you
That's
to.
correct, Chair.
And at paragraph 32, you say, before I continue, I need to refer the commission to paragraph 47
That's correct, Chair.
of my answering affidavit, in which I erroneously stated that, and then you referred to that
That's
paragraph,
correct,
that you had met Varun.
Yes.
You say here, the reference to Estina being represented by Mr. Varun Gupta is not correct.
That's correct.
Paragraph 34. Mr. Varun Gupta never represented Estina in any of the negotiations or discussions which I had with Estina's representatives, or during any of the presentations which Estina made to the department. In all the contact which I had with Estina regarding the Freedom Dairy project, Estina was mainly represented by Mr. Sanjeev Gautam and Mr. Kamal Vasram,
That's correct, Chair.
etc., etc. On page 35, I beg your pardon, paragraph 35, you say you only met Mr. Varun Gupta when you were arrested on the 14th of February 2018.
That's correct, Chair.
I just want to summarize what we're talking about. So first of all, you tell, you depose to an affidavit that says, this man I have met during negotiations, 2018.
That's correct.
2019, you change your mind. You've made an error. You've never met this particular person. Today, we have an affidavit that we received from you on Friday that admits to knowing the Guptas.
Yeah, Chair, let me talk to that.
Yes, yes.
It's a very difficult thing. When I made the first affidavit.
Maybe before you continue, Mr. Bash, I must just make sure I understand your question. The reference to the Gupta family, certainly that I made when I put some questions to him, relates to the Gupta family, to which has a lot of reference has been made here, which would not necessarily include anybody by the surname Gupta who may not be part of that family. We are not at cross purposes.
No, sir, because Mr. Varun Gupta is nephew to the seniors who are references made to every now and again. Ajay, Atul, Tony.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
But
so
I
this
just wanted to say, whenever I referred to the Gupta family, I was referring to the three brothers. I wasn't referring to anybody else in the questions I put to you.
So he's from the same household, sir?
Yes.
And he was one of the persons charged?
Yes.
When Mr. Tabete was charged in that asset forfeiture matter?
No, that's fine. You may continue to give your answer, Mr. Tabete.
Thank you very much, Chair. Chair, I think in my affidavit that I disposed to NPA, it was a mere mistake of swapping names, because the only two people that I had dealt with was Kajinda and Kamal. Those were the key people that we've been negotiating with in terms of the free day. So now the Varun Gupta, I was seeing him for the first time when we were arrested. I had never seen him, he had never known me at that time. Hence, in the affidavit to the commission, I was just correcting that, Chair, to say this is not the person, because I had raised the issue also with my lawyers at that time, that we were to correct that before going to court. Unfortunately, then the case was withdrawn because we were going to correct this, because we had also picked it up, all of us, that we had made a mistake. And I had already communicated to the lawyers that needs to be corrected. So hence, then I had to correct this in the affidavit to the commission, to say I had not met with him. I saw him for the first time when we got arrested.
How do you make a mistake with a surname such as Gupta only because they're a family who have become well-known in South Africa? We're not talking about way back. We're talking about 2018 and 2019. We're in 2019 now, just last year. How does anybody make that kind of error?
Chair, I did the mistake. I read the affidavit, I went through it, and it was quite a lengthy affidavit. And later, when I was at home, then I picked it up after we had submitted it, that I had made a mistake. And I then wanted it to be corrected. Unfortunately, it came across before I had an opportunity that I checked with my lawyers at that time that even if the case has been, can I correct that? They said, no, it's gone. You can't correct it anymore. I wished it would have been corrected, Chair.
Now, the impression you've always given us is that you really didn't know the Gupta family at all. Am I not correct? Before you filed this affidavit, supplementary affidavit.
Yeah, Chair, knowing them and doing business with them are two different things. I had been in activities where they are, but we've never interacted in business in terms of the project that we're talking to.
But you are prepared to go to a meeting. You say this meeting was with Indian persons persons of Indian descent who wanted to meet you in Johannesburg. And you then find yourself at Saxonwold, at the Gupta residence.
Yeah. Chair, if it were now, it would be a different story. At that particular time, you would organize meetings. You find some of the meetings in offices. You find some of the meetings. I've had meetings in hotels. I've had meetings in guest houses. Some of the meetings in houses. So it did not ring any bell to me to say, why are you here? Why are you having a meeting in this particular residence?
But I can't understand that, Mr. Tabete. You are the head of a department in the provincial government.
Yes, Chair.
You have a project, a big project.
That's correct.
Friede Farm project. Somebody calls you and says, Paras people want to meet you. Why don't you say they must come and meet me in my office? Why must you meet them in Joburg?
Chair, that is possible. What I understood is that they wanted to check something with me if I could.
They must come to your office. Why don't they come to your office? And why don't you tell them they must make an appointment and come like everybody and come and see me and see you at work?
Chair,
they want you to come and see them in another province.
Chair, we come to Joburg, we come to Pretoria in a number of instances to have meetings.
Yes, but they want to meet you. Why don't they come to Bloemfontein? Why don't they make arrangements to come and see you properly? Why must you meet them just in case you are in Johannesburg?
Yeah. Chair,
is there something I don't understand? Please help me.
I don't see anything wrong in meeting people other than your office.
But isn't the no, I'm not saying that you can't meet people other than in your office, but this is about work. And these people, Paras people, you had only met them in India, isn't it? Before this?
Chair,
when you went to India, or had you met them subsequently?
Chair, but by this time there had already been people from India who were working at the project, if I remember very well. But it's a long time ago. But I don't know, Chair, if I wasn't allowed to meet people other than my office.
No, I'm not saying you're not allowed. It just seems strange to me that they want to meet and you agree to meet in another province.
Yes, Chair, we do meetings in any other province.
So you leave the Free State to meet, I don't know whether you would call your clients, to meet them in Gauteng about work that is a project that is really in the Free State. Well, I'm trying to understand the idea of why don't they come to you? You are the head of the department. The project is taking place in the Free State. Your office is in the Free State. Why are they not making an appointment to meet you in the Free State?
Chair, I was in Joburg.
It was coincidental.
I was in Joburg and I had accepted because I knew I was going to be in Joburg. Then I said, it's fine. On that particular day, I will be able to attend the meeting.
All right.
Now, I'd like to assist you in trying to get the timeline for this meeting right. that the chairman has been exploring with you.
Okay, Chair.
It's useful to think back to when you signed the agreement with Estina in 2012. Okay? That's a fixed point in time. 5th of May, 25th of May 2012 was the MOU between Estina and Paras. The 5th, 7th of July was your agreement with Estina. And December, you then got the land issue sorted out. Did this meeting take place any time before December 2012? Now, your point of reference there is that's when you got the Vrede land documentation sorted out. I'm just trying to help you remember. So that's 2012.
Yeah. Chair, it's I don't want to commit, only to find that it is not correct.
Can I take you into 2013? Because in 2013, there are media reports that suggest that you had a meeting scheduled at Saxonwold. And you may want to look at the media bundle, but I'll simply, in the interest of time, read to you what's written here. So it's timeline, Gupta meetings with a number of public functionaries, including yourself. 31st of January, Tony Gupta scheduled to meet Peter HOD at Saxonwold. And the person who seems to have set this meeting up is Mr. Ashu Chawla from Sahara Computers. Does this ring a bell at all?
Chair, the best thing for me would have been my own diary. Because to agree on somebody else's diary then becomes a problem for me.
But you did say you thought the meeting may have taken place in 2013.
Should have been 2013, Chair.
So that might...
It might tally.
It might help.
But the issue is it's not the only meeting, Mr. Tabete. So the first one was on the 31st of January, 2013. The next one was the very next day, 1st of February, but this time you were scheduled to meet Tony Gupta along with Mr. Zwane at Saxonwold. Does this ring a bell at all?
No, Chair. I've seen this before, the media reports. They are very strange to me because at a particular stage, I had also tried myself to track where had I been on those particular dates, and they did not coincide. So it's very difficult for me to talk to them.
The next meeting, Mr. Tabete, was on the 18th of July, 2013. Again, you accepted a meeting with Mr. Tony, and you were supposed to meet him with Mr. Zwane. Do you know anything at all? Do you recall this one at all?
No, I don't remember, Chair.
It was going to be a meeting at Saxonwold again. So this means you would have been to Saxonwold 3 times.
No, I don't recall, Chair.
Because
that's why I had to go back, Chair, and think properly. Because even this one that I am saying, I remember I had gone there. What came very difficult for me is exactly what I'm being asked now. Who did you meet with? Which I'm not able to say, this is the Gupta person that I had met with. So it's a very difficult one, but all I remember is that there has been a question raised to me that if you have been into the residence, in admitting to that, say, yes, I believe I've been into that residence in this meeting that I have been. That was what I wanted to correct, Chair.
you see, Ms. Rockman was quite frank with the Commission. She told the Commission that she did go to Saxonwold, and she had a meeting at Saxonwold. And she told us what she discussed at that meeting. So we have evidence of other people who have been there and who are quite frank with the Commission and tell the Chairman that they have been to Saxonwold. She went there in April 2013. That might assist you.
Yeah.
Would that have been about the time that you would have been there?
Chair, in the media report, there are also reports that says I have been there with her. And I've never been there with her.
No, she did not say she was there with you. She went there. She was simply admitting to the fact that she had been there, and she told the chairman why, what it is that was being discussed.
No, Chair, I'm referring to media reports. It's media reports that say so.
Can I then say this to you? We have, of course, you might have known or heard that we've got a unit here that has the hard disk drive that has collected quite a few of these Gupta emails. And one of the things that they have prepared, and there's an affidavit that confirms the steps that were taken in preparing these schedules. One of the things we have from our unit is a meeting schedule that they picked up off the Gupta emails, our HDD, H drive.
That's correct.
And these put you at Saxon World, Mr. Tabete, on the 15th of June, 2012. You were meeting with Mr. Tony. You accepted another meeting.
Mr. Tony Gupta.
Tony Gupta, sir. It is from Tony Gupta, so the details here. I can give you the reference, the page reference numbers, Chair. It's a reference bundle. Can I just read through them?
Okay, yeah, just read through
Thank you,
them,
Chair.
yeah.
They are part of the reference bundle. The next meeting you had again with Mr. Tony Gupta was on the 2nd of November 2012. The next meeting you had with Mr. Gupta, the 31st of January 2013. Yet another meeting you had, you canceled this one actually. The one that was scheduled for the 31st of January 2013 was canceled, Peter HOD. On the 1st of February 2013, you accepted a meeting with Mr. Tony. And again, Ashu Gupta seems to have, I beg your pardon, Ashu Chawla seems to have been one of the persons organizing these meetings. You canceled a lunch meeting, or somebody canceled a lunch meeting between yourself and Mr. Tony Gupta that had been scheduled for the 7th of February 2013. Accepted lunch meeting, Peter HOD, on the 7th of February 2013. Accepted meeting with Peter HOD, 9th of February 2013. Accepted meeting with Peter HOD, Agric, Tony Gupta, on the 15th of March 2013. What I'd like to, oh, there's one more. On the 6th of April, again with Mr. Tony Gupta, 2013. Then yourself and Mr. Zwane met him again on the 18th of July, 2017, and the 27th of August, I beg your pardon, 2013, and then 27th of August, 2013. There are a number of meetings, as you can see. There's one in 2014, the 17th of March, 2014, where Ashok Narayan was present. So you can see from the Gupta emails that you are reputed to have interacted with Mr. Tony Gupta in particular on a number of occasions. What is your response to that?
Yeah, Chair, is it the computer saying so? Because I understand that this is what comes from the computer.
Do you want to?
These are meeting schedules that have been extracted off emails. Now, Mr. Tabete, nobody would agree to a meeting. There's no computer that's going to do that for you. You're either going to go to the meeting or not go to the meeting, but somebody's going to talk to you about that meeting. So don't ask about this being a computer talking to another computer. The short answer to that question is no. This is about whether you made arrangements to go and see Mr. Tony Gupta.
No, I didn't.
I think what he was asking was the source of the information.
The source of the information, Chairman, are the Gupta emails. And this is a hard drive, if that's what you want to know, a hard drive that is in our possession as the Commission that has all these email trails on it. But the issue
Yes.
is, did you speak to people either at Sahara Computer or at Saxon World to arrange these meetings? And did you attend some meetings and not attend other meetings?
Yeah, Chair, the meeting that I have put in my affidavit is the meeting that I know. The other meetings, I don't know, Chair.
What did you discuss at that meeting that you are prepared to admit to, Mr. Tabete?
Chair, in this meeting, they wanted me to assist with work permits for the people from India to come here, which then I had assisted them that Estina should assist them, not the department, because they would not be able to work with the department. So I had explained to them what Estina was supposed to do in order for them to get work permits. That was what the meeting was all about.
Maybe we should, let me tidy this one up. Did you discuss payments to Estina when you were at Saxon World on the day that you say you were there?
No, Chair. The intention of the meeting was for me to meet the people from Paras. That was the intention of the meeting, so that I can assist them with work permits.
You did not discuss the payments of the 84 million rand that was outstanding?
Chair, issues of payment, I would then discuss directly with the people that I was dealing with in terms of the project. Those are the ones that will then come to me and we discuss issues of payment.
Who are those people, Mr. Tabete?
Chair, I want to use the correct name. You see, it's very difficult to remember who's. It was Kamal Vasram. Those are the people that I would discuss issues of payment with them, and Kajinda Kumar. Those were the two people that would then come to me and say, this payment or that payment.
You say they would come to you. Did they come to you in your office in Bloemfontein?
They would come, Chair, or they would make telephone calls. Those are the people that I would interact with.
Did you at any point meet any of them in Johannesburg?
Yes, I did, Chair.
Where would that meeting take place?
It was in their office, Chair, in Sentin.
That's the office at Catherine Street that you said
That's
was
correct.
familiar because you had been there.
That's correct, Chair.
And you remember I asked you if you were aware that the other Gupta offices were in the same office block. I asked you this last time.
Yeah, I don't know, Chair, they might have been there. But when I went there, I had meetings with them.
Now, you had meetings with Mr. Kamal Vasram and Mr. Kumar.
Kumar, yes. They also have been to our office in Bloemfontein.
Did you have meetings at Sahara Computers with Mr. Narayan, Ashok Narayan?
No, Chair.
Did all your interactions with Mr. Narayan take place in Bloemfontein?
In Bloemfontein, Chair.
How many meetings did you have with Mr. Narayan after your trip to India?
Chair, not direct meetings, but I've been in meetings where he has been.
Then there is Mr. Chawla. Have you ever heard of Mr. Chawla? Ashok Chawla? Ashul, I beg your pardon. Can I, Ashu, A-S-H-U. And then the surname is Chawla, C-H-A-W-L-A.
Yeah, Chair, I'm trying to think. There was a Chawla that were arrested with.
Yes. But you don't know whether his name was Ashok.
I don't know whether is the same one or not.
But it's not somebody who you're familiar with at all.
It's not people that I've been interacting with.
That's very interesting, because if you go to reference bundle D at page 1486,
Reference D.
D, 1486 is the page number. D 1486.
One,
1486, Mr. Tabete.
that's correct.
You're there.
Yes, I'm there, Chair.
That's a letter, as you can see, that's written on the 24th of February 2012, and it's written by Ashu Chawla. And it is written to the Visa Councillor, High Commissioner of India, Johannesburg, South Africa. Re-invitation letter for Peter Tabete. Dear Sir, Madam, please could you assist with issuing 3-month business visa for the above-mentioned guests? They would like to visit India for business opportunities. They are due to arrive between 29 February and 3rd March 2012. Below are the passport details. Mr. Peter Tabete, passport details, date of issue, date of expiry. SES Technologies Limited will assist with all their requirements while stay in India. If require any further details, please do not hesitate to contact me. Thanks, regards, Ashu Chawla. You know nothing about this?
No, Chair, what I pick is that the letter was written about me.
That's correct.
Yes.
But they got your passport details from whom?
I don't know, Chair. What I know that I've been to the Embassy of India in order for me to be able to get a visa.
Mr. Tabete, are you saying that somebody is running around with your passport details and can readily give it to anybody else? Your passport details?
I don't know, Chair, but what I know is that when we were arranging to go to India, there was an arrangement between me and Mr. Ashok. Then we had collected our details, we forwarded them to India. I'm not sure how it came about that it landed, but I had made that information available because I had to provide it.
Whom did you provide your details to?
I had provided my details to Paras. I had provided my details to the Embassy of India and our own embassy of South Africa in India.
Now, Mr. Ashu Chawla has got your passport details, and he is the one who's writing to the High Commission to try and arrange for you to visit India. You say you do not know Mr. Chawla, number one. Ne?
No, I didn't, Chair. He just wrote on my, well, not even on my behalf. He wrote about me.
It sounds very improbable, Mr. Tabete, especially because we're dealing here with your personal details.
Yeah, Chair, I had given my passport details to Paras. I had given my passport details to the Embassy of India. I had given my passport details to our own embassy. Now, remember here, I was using an official passport, which means you may not give as you wish your own official passport. Because all official passport, when you come back, you have to deposit it. You don't keep it with you. And you only use it for official purposes. So, these details, how they got hold of them, they could be, I don't know.
Well, Mr. Tabete, this letter is from SES Technologies Limited, and is written by Ashu Chawla. and says, please could you, it's addressed to the High Commission of India, to the Visa Counselor, High Commission of India, Johannesburg, re-invitation letter for Peter Tabete, dear sir, stroke madam, please could you assist with issuing a 3-month business visa for the above mentioned. It says guest, but there's only one guest mentioned or person mentioned above, that's yourself. And then, but they says they would like to visit India for business opportunities. They are due to arrive on the 29th February to 3rd March 2012. Below are the passport details. The only passport details given below are your passport details. So this person is writing to somebody in the offices of the High Commission of India in Johannesburg and facilitating your trip to India. You say, and he has got your passport details and knows when you will arrive there and so on, and is asking that a 3-month business visa be issued. You say you don't know how come he did that.
Chair, I don't know. What I know, when I go to an embassy to apply for an official visa to visit, I bring my own letter from the province that gives me permission to go there. And that's the letter, then I go there and fill all the necessary form and do everything that is required. This letter would not serve me any purpose in terms of doing a trip to India.
You did not need it?
I did not need it, Chair.
Okay.
Mr. Tabete, so you were not meeting, back to Saxon World, to the meeting that you are acknowledging. You did not meet any persons you had previously met, either at Paras or in South Africa, when you attended this meeting. These were new faces completely. Mike?
My apology, Chair. The people that I was meeting is not one of those people that I had met before. What they had explained to me was that they were technical people that they were coming to assist with the project.
Did they explain what form that assistance was going to be taking?
We did not go into the details, Chair. They just said they've been asked, they've been given permission, but when they are here, their visa was not a work permit for them. They needed to apply for a work permit because what they were coming to do was work related.
So the discussion you had with them was that they would have to go back home and apply for a work permit from home. Is that the discussion you had with them?
Yeah, what I had asked them, Chair, that Estina is the one who's supposed to release a letter, because when you do a work permit, the entity that you're going to be working for must do in confirmation and give the timelines for this person to be issued a work permit. Therefore, the department wouldn't do that. Then Estina was supposed to do that and assist them to get the work permit.
So you could easily have given them this advice over the telephone had they simply told you why they wanted you to come to a meeting in Saxon World.
Chair, it would have been easy if I had got all the details to say, no, Estina must assist you. But then I established the details of the meeting after I had met them. They were of the thinking that we should assist them.
But when you were told by the person who called you and said there were Paras people who wanted to meet you, didn't you ask what do they want to discuss?
Chair, what I was told that there were people from India, from Estina, who would want to meet with you.
Yes, didn't you ask about what? What is the meeting going to be about?
Yeah, Chair, it was obvious to me that if anybody would want to talk to me from India and from Estina, it would be about the project.
Yes.
So it wouldn't be strange to me to meet somebody from Estina.
But, I mean, the project, there are so many things that could be discussed about the project. You didn't say exactly what is it that they want to deal with, to talk to me about the project. The project was going on, isn't it?
Yes, Chair. No, I didn't ask. Maybe I would have been keen to meet them and understand what they were here to do and so on. But I didn't ask what was it all about. I only learned it when I was in the meeting.
And you realized that it's something that could have been dealt with all over the phone.
Yes.
But the meeting did still took about an hour, you said.
The meeting talked, no, we were chatting, talking, Chair, relating what I saw when I was in India, but the bigger part of the meeting, why I had to meet was about that. Then I had explained to them.
Also, the rest of the time it was just
We were talking
chatting.
about, yes, Chair.
Were any of the Gupta brothers or family members part of that meeting?
Chair, it's a very difficult.
Maybe any of the Gupta brothers first, and then we can see if there's another Gupta person. But was there any of the Gupta brothers, 3 Gupta brothers, who attended that meeting?
Chair, it's very difficult. I don't want to make a mistake because you see, if these people would walk in, I would not even be able to identify who is who.
But we're not saying which one. We're simply asking whether there was any one of them who was there, irrespective of whether you know the name, you know whether it was Mr. Tony Gupta or Mr. Ajay Gupta or Mr. Atul Gupta. We're just asking whether any one of them attended that meeting.
Yeah, Chair, that's what I'm saying in the affidavit. I assume that one of these people was a Gupta person. One of the ones that introduced me.
You mean you didn't find out who all the people were who were at that meeting at that time? Were you not told this is so and so, this is so and so, this is so and so?
Yes, Chair, I was told by the person who was introducing them. He
Yes.
introduced the people to me who were from
Yes.
Paras.
Yes.
Then
And
we
do you
went-
know? Do you remember whether one of the persons or one or more of the persons who were in the meeting you were told was Mr. Ajay Gupta or Mr. Atul Gupta or Mr. Tony Gupta, also called Rajesh Gupta?
He might have introduced, Chair, but I may not have taken it into mind to be able to say who exactly was that.
So, but you would have known, you would remember, I would have imagined, if in that meeting one of the Gupta brothers was there. As you sit there, I would expect you to remember that one of them was there. You might not remember which one. I would expect you to remember. Am I mistaken? I shouldn't expect you to remember.
It's a very difficult one, Chair.
By this time, this is 2013, eh?
Yes,
That's correct, Chair.
Or the meeting you're talking about.
yes, Chair.
You think you are not sure whether any one of them was present.
Later, Chair, I tried to look at the faces that were put up. It was very difficult for me to be able to say which of those were in that meeting.
Okay.
But we have established that there was a Gupta family member
That's correct.
at that meeting.
That's correct, Chair.
Oh, okay. Now I must understand that. So That you remember, that there was
There
a
was
Gupta family
a
member.
Gupta. I take
At
it
the
that
meeting.
the person who came to introduce me in that reason was a Gupta.
No, but you must be careful. It's one thing to say you take it to be the case. It's another thing to say it is so. So before Ms. Kawashi asked you the last question she asked you, I thought you were saying you were not sure. You were not sure that there was a Gupta family member at the meeting. But she put to you a very clear question, and I thought your answer was very clear that yes, there was. So that's why I then wanted to make sure that I had not misunderstood anything.
Yeah, Chair, my response is that I took it that it was a Gupta person,
The one who introduced you
the one who
to
introduced
everybody.
me. But I'm not able to confirm that.
Chairman, I had sorted this out until you asked that question. And I'll tell you why I believe I had sorted it out, Mr. Tabete, with all due respect to your question. I understand the reason for the questions, Chairman, please. Please accept that I do. The reason is that your host would have been trying to connect you with these people who were seeking work permits.
That's correct, Chair.
The home you are in belongs to one of the Gupta family members.
That's correct.
So one would assume that because this was such an important matter, getting work permits for these technical people who would be working on Estina, that your host would be somebody who belonged in that home. This is why I expected the answer you gave when you said one of the Guptas. You don't know which one because it's difficult to tell them apart, but one of the Guptas would have been there. But I see you are now retracting that.
No, Chair, I'm not.
You are not retracting.
I'm not retracting, Chair.
Well, Mr. Washe, you've got your answer.
Maybe I should just round this off with the following question. You see, when I looked at your paragraph 51 in your 2019 affidavit, the one to the Commission, you state the following. Up until the time of my arrest on 14 February 2018, I was not aware of any involvement of the Gupta family in the Vrede Dairy project. As stated above, I only met Mr. Varun Gupta during the time of my arrest on 14 February 2018. Prior to my arrest, I have never met any person with the surname of Gupta at any occasion, nor did I discuss any aspects regarding the implementation and execution of the Vrede Dairy project with any person with the surname of Gupta.
That's correct, Chair.
Now, this meeting you are talking about of 2013 is a meeting that's discussing technical assistance to Estina. Your host is a Gupta. That means what you wrote in paragraph 51, you ought to have corrected as well in your supplementary affidavit.
Chair, my understanding, this is what I'm correcting in my supplementary affidavit.
No. In the supplementary affidavit, you are admitting to a meeting at the Gupta residence, but you are not admitting to any connection between the Gupta family and the Vrede Dairy project. Otherwise, correct me, please. You've got the F in front of me, of you rather. Show me where you are saying all of those things I'm dealing with in the supplementary.
Yeah.
Just take me to that paragraph.
Chair, what you're saying is correct. I'm admitting meeting them, but I'm not admitting discussing the aspects of the project.
But talking about Estina technical issues means you're talking about the project. Your host is a Gupta, member of the Gupta family. You are discussing the project.
Chair, I'm discussing with the delegation from India. That was the intention. That was my understanding of the meeting, Chair.
You are introduced to these people by your host.
That's correct, Chair.
Your host knows that they are in Estina technocrats, people who've got technical skills, according to you, who are coming to Estina and to Freda
Yes.
to work on the project. So your paragraph 51 is incorrect.
No, Chair. I don't see anything wrong with the paragraph.
In any event, at your paragraph 9, you say you were introduced to persons who were from Paras, and the discussions were mainly about the Freda Dairy project.
That's correct.
So you were talking about the Freda Dairy project. Mr. Tabete.
Chair, yes, because that's what my statement is saying. I'm saying I was introduced to these people where I had come to discuss with them about the issue of free date. That's correct, Chair.
Mr. Tabete, the Sun City wedding, the Gupta wedding at Sun City, did you attend that wedding?
No, Chair.
Were you invited to that wedding?
No, I was not invited, Chair.
You did not receive an invitation?
No.
They've had a few Diwali celebrations at the Gupta home. Were you invited to any of those Diwali celebrations?
No, I was not.
You have
Chair.
not attended a single one
I
of them?
haven't attended, Chair.
So the extent of your interaction with the Guptas is this meeting you've just told us about?
That's correct, Chair.
And the breakfast meetings where you would have met them?
That's correct, Chair.
And then just telephone calls, but you're not saying with the Guptas in particular, but with people from Sahara Computers to arrange certain meetings.
That's correct.
But you don't know who from Sahara Computers was phoning you to arrange the meetings that you've referred to.
That's correct.
It could have been Mr. Tony Gupta. You have no clue.
That's correct, Chair.
Chairman, I believe those are the questions we have for Mr. Tabete.
Thank you. Did you finish questions on did you exhaust your questions on the deviation?
I believe I have,
You
Chairman.
have, okay, no, that's fine. I
Yes.
think I will, Mr. Tabete, let's just
Sorry,
go back.
I beg your pardon, Chairman. If you recall, it's the direct questions and then the ones relating to the AG questioning, the manner in which they had approached the deviation. So all of that is one composite piece of
Yes.
evidence, much as the questions were asked at different
Yeah,
times.
it must be because I wanted to ask some questions that must have been that I thought you might not have. Mr. Tabete, let's just
Chair,
go.
I beg your pardon, Chairman. May I sit down?
Yes, please.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Tabete, let's go back to something that we dealt with much earlier, because I don't think I was satisfied that I understood everything about it. And it's important that I should understand your perspective as well. In regard to the Freda Dairy Farm project, there was no compliance with any procurement processes. Maybe putting it that way might not be completely accurate, but you sought to deviate from it, is that right? From
Yes,
the procurement procedures.
yes, Chair. Deviation is a compliance procedure.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying maybe it might not be putting it accurately to say there was no compliance, because deviation is provided for in the legislation.
That's correct.
Yes. Now, as I recall, deviation is provided for in the legislation and the policies under very limited circumstances. Is that right?
That's correct, Chair.
I think one such situation is either emergency or urgency. I just can't remember now whether it's put as emergency or as urgency. Is that right? Is it emergency or urgency?
Yeah.
Obviously, agency is part of emergency, but emergency is not necessarily the same as agency.
Yeah, Chair, I must just haste to come in. Chair, the deviation that you are talking about, it's for money that has been allocated for goods and services. It is very clear that when your budget of goods and services, you wish to deviate, and this is the process to follow.
Yes, okay, maybe I should have put my question this way. What was the justification you gave for saying that deviation was justified in this case?
Yeah, Chair, I think the number of witnesses has also explained it, that this budget was gazetted under transfer.
Yeah.
And once the budget is gazetted under transfer, it becomes unacquitted funds.
It becomes?
Unacquitted funds.
Acquitted.
It means it's funds that you must transfer. It's not funds that are meant for the department. It means this money has been put aside for the benefit of somebody.
Someone else, yes.
Then you transfer that money for. But what we then did as a department, over and above that, we then said we are actually saying we are deviating from our normal procurement processes because of that particular reason. Hence, this money becomes a transfer. So those are two different, because the deviations that we are talking about, it's a deviation that refers to money that has been allocated and gazetted for goods and services, which in this instance, it does not apply.
So money gets given to your department for goods and services.
That's correct, Chair.
Okay. If it's for goods and services, you must follow procurement procedures.
That's correct, Chair.
And those procurement procedures include, in appropriate cases, deviation.
That's correct, Chair.
Yes. Okay. Now, but you say that there is money that would get allocated to your department, not for goods and services.
That's correct, Chair.
And money that gets allocated to your department, not under goods and services, would be allocated to your department as what? Or what category does it
as
follow?
Transfers, Chair.
As transfers.
That's correct.
Now, this concept of transfers, is that in some legislation, in some policies, in some official document where there is provision to say, well, if it's transfers, it doesn't go to procurement. You don't have to go through procurement procedures.
That's correct, Chair.
Okay, what is that? What are those instruments? What's that instrument that says that?
Chair, the very same act stipulates there is a document in government called SCOA. I'm not able to put
remember
it
the full name.
in full detail.
Yes, yeah.
But that document then explains. Now, that is the problem, Chair. That took 2 years for National Treasury to be able to clarify, because it has been in existence and the application has been varying from province to province. Hence,
The application of that document.
Of that document, Chair, yes.
You say SCOA.
It's called SCOA, Chair.
How do you spell the acronym? SCOA?
SCOA, Chair.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken, I think the evidence leader might have seen the document.
Oh, okay.
I'm referring to.
All right.
Yeah.
So this document SCOA, just tell me the gist. What does it deal with? Does it deal with transfers or?
Chair, it deals with a number of processes.
Yeah, including transfers.
Yeah, I don't want to go there because I'm not an expert of it, Chair.
Yes, but your understanding.
Otherwise, I'm going to confuse the whole documents.
No, at least tell me your understanding.
My understanding of the document, it classify how you deal with about the transfer. It even presents it to you schematically.
Yes.
How you deal with the transfer so that you are able to follow it.
And basically when we talk about transfer in this context, it's transfer of money that
from government to another entity.
To
it could
an
be
individual or entity.
That's correct.
Which is recognized under SCOA as being not for goods and services.
That's correct.
That's right.
That's correct.
Is that, on your understanding, does SCOA say monies that are classified or entered under as transfers do not need to be subjected to, or there's no need to go through procurement procedures for the department to dispense them?
That's correct, Chair.
That's what it says,
That's
the
correct.
document. Now, I would like to see that document. So I think I would like arrangements to be made for me to see it. And maybe if it is possible, it would be good if when I see it, I would know what provisions inform your understanding. So if arrangements could be made to make sure these are the provisions that inform your understanding, which you told me about today.
Yeah, Chair.
Yes.
That document, as we speak today, has a new position because
Yes.
it created a lot of instability
Challenges.
throughout.
Yes.
Because
Because of the 2-year period
a two-year
told me,
period.
yeah.
When I was there, I had personally written to National Treasury
Yes.
requesting them a clarification,
Yes.
which did not come forth, and the explanation was that if we give you an answer, it means that becomes a rule, and we need to do proper consultation throughout the country before we finalize that decision. So it was very difficult even for National Treasury to say, yes, Department of Agriculture, Free State, you are wrong, or you are right. That was the difficulty for them to come to us to say, in our understanding, because that's what we wanted them to tell us, to say you are right or you are wrong.
Yes. Now, the document as it read before the amendments that have happened.
Yes, Chair.
So I would like to see the one that was in existence at the time, because that's the one
That's correct.
on the basis of which you acted.
That's correct, Chair. I'm sure, Chair, Treasury could assist you.
Yes,
with
I'm
that
sure they should be able to. Now, but why would it become necessary to talk about deviation then if the procurement procedures are not applicable because it's not goods and services? When you want to dispense money that falls under transfers.
Yeah, Chair. We had agreed in the province that for us to be able to assist the farmers with the money that was allocated under transfer, we will then, together with the farmers, source an implementing agent. It means then the department will go and advertise a tender for us to be able to get implementing agents in order for us to be able to assist the farmers to implement the project. Now, this deviation was then deviating from what we had agreed on as a department to say, in this particular instance, we are not going to follow what we had agreed in terms of assisting the farmers because we have an implementing agent that is a partner in the project that will implement the project for us. That was the difference, Chair.
Are you saying that the presence of an implementing agent meant that procurement procedures had to be complied with in circumstances where otherwise they were not supposed to be, they were not applicable?
That's correct, Chair.
Why is that? Why did it make that difference?
Yeah, Chair, we had engaged that process over a very long period of time. I took a very lengthy period trying to explain last time how we ended there.
No, I don't want a long thing. You have told me if money falls under transfers,
Yes,
procurement procedures do not apply.
that's correct,
That's
Chair.
what SCOA says.
That's correct, Chair.
Okay. Now, as I understand it, now you want to dispense money that falls under transfers,
That's correct, Chair.
but suddenly you say procurement procedures now apply because you have brought in an implementing agent.
Yes, Chair.
So what was the basis for saying dispensing money that falls under transfers is governed by procurement procedures
Yes.
if you bring in an implementing agent, but if you don't bring in an implementing agent, those procedures don't apply? That's what I'm trying to understand.
Yeah. Chair, we had learned from experience of the past that money which were meant for farmers were transferred to the farmers to implement the project. And we had picked problems. Once the money landed into the farmer's account, the farmers may decide not to implement the project but to do something else. So we had been through that process. And we had engaged with both Provincial Treasury and the Auditor General on that regard, because the Auditor General will say, so much money was given to this farmer to do 1, 2, 3, 4. Can we go and see what
What he did with
he did with the money? And when we get there, we are not able to see because we've given the money directly. Hence, we had to come back to a drawing board and say, but this system is not assisting us. Let us impose an additional restriction. So what we then did was an additional restriction to put it under control, to improve the quality of the work done and for us to be able to monitor properly. Hence then, in an area where we did not need a procurement process, we then introduce a procurement process.
But on your understanding, once you were going to give the money to Estina and not to the beneficiaries themselves,
That's correct, Chair.
was compliance with procurement procedures compulsory or not? And when I say procedures, I include deviation. In other words, were you just deciding by yourselves, for whatever reasons, because of what had happened before, to bring in, to invoke a procedure that otherwise did not apply? Or was the position that you were obliged by law, now that the money was not going to be sent directly to the beneficiaries, but was going to be sent to somebody else, you were obliged by law to then apply or comply with procurement procedures? What was your understanding?
No, Chair, we were not compelled by law. We were just putting a measure to assist us to be able to implement the project properly.
So, but how was deviation going to assist you? If you didn't, I mean, the procurement procedures as far as you were concerned, were not applicable.
That's correct.
Because this was money that fell under transfers.
That's correct.
So deviation means don't follow procedures.
That's correct, Chair.
So how was it going to assist you doing a deviation?
Chair, exactly, that's what I was saying. Because in the department, we had made an internal arrangement that this is how we're going to do it. Whether the law did not require it, we're going to do it. Hence, in this particular instance, we were then saying we are deviating from our own agreement also, even though the law did not require it to be done.
Oh, then you confuse me more now. I understood that all along when you talk about deviation,
Yes.
we mean deviation as provided for in the PFMA
That's
and
correct.
policies.
That's correct.
But now you seem to be saying, no, this deviation we're talking about, we're deviating from our own obligations that we had placed ourselves by way of an agreement internally, not from the PFMA.
You are correct, Chair.
Yes.
You are correct, Chair.
Okay, all right. So the deviation that you sought was a deviation from your own internal arrangement.
Arrangement, because this deviation did not qualify in terms of the PFMA.
Yes. So, but this internal arrangement didn't really put any obligation, legal obligation upon you. It was just an arrangement, isn't it?
It is a nice thing to do, Chair.
Yes, that's why I'm saying it's not an obligation.
No, it is not, Chair.
So you sought a deviation from a nice thing to do.
That's correct, Chair.
Okay, all right. Okay, thank you. Mr. Basha, anything arising? Yes.
No, Chairman, other
Yeah.
than that, we have a copy of the accounting manual for departments, the
Yes.
standard chart of accounts and systems.
Yes.
It might be useful for Mr. Tabete to indicate on your document.
Yes,
Which I was just looking for a clip in my bag.
Yes, yes.
Which provisions he relied on so that you understand very
Yes,
clearly
that would be
what it
helpful.
is that he has relied on.
Yes, maybe let's do that if you would be able to, Mr. Tabete. I don't know if you might need more time than
Please, Chair, if I could be allowed, then
to
I
have
will.
more time.
Yes, so that I get the right people to help me to identify it and then forward it.
Okay, then what we can do is that maybe you can file just a supplementary affidavit and attach the document or the relevant parts of the document and say, these are the provisions in SCOA that guided my understanding.
That's correct, Chair.
Yeah. Is that fine with you?
That
Ms.
is fine with us,
Yes,
Chairman.
yes.
In that event, I presume that
Yes.
Mr. Tabete will attach a copy of that document.
Yes.
I don't know if you want to mark what we have just handed up, or if you'll simply wait for Mr. Tabete to properly file his copy.
Maybe let's mark this and.
Shall we put it in the reference bundle, Chairman?
Yes, let's do that.
Yeah, Chair.
Which reference?
Chair.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Chair.
Yes, Mr.
Chair,
Tabete?
it's me, Chair.
Yes.
Can I request that we don't do it now in case I might have referred to a wrong document so that I attach the correct document? I took it that is the
Yes.
document, but maybe
But-
when reading it, I may realize, no, I've referred
Yes,
to
you
a
might.
wrong document.
Yes.
So
Okay,
that
maybe
then I
let's
do so.
leave it on the basis that when your supplementary affidavit comes, it will come with the right document, which may be this one or maybe another one.
That's good.
Which
Thank you.
informed your understanding.
That's correct, Chair.
Okay, so maybe let's not.
Hand that up.
Yeah, hand it up at this stage. Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Tabete. I don't know whether your counsel has something, or he wants to to talk to you?
I think
Okay,
so.
I think just, yeah,
Chairman.
that's fine, yeah.
Chairman, two issues. The first, Mr. Buthelezi was just checking on whether this is the end of the hearing of Mr. Tabete's evidence for purposes of the supplementary, or does he have to come and speak to the supplementary when he comes back? That's the first question.
Yes.
The second question relates to a right to re-examine. There are a few things that he would like, Mr. Buthelezi would like to clear up, that he
Yes.
thinks that his client
Yes.
glossed over.
Yes.
And they're important points.
Okay, first one, I think from your side, you indicated that you had no further questions
We
for
have
him.
no further questions.
And I don't think I have any further questions for him. So subject to what might come up out of the re-examination, this would be the end of his evidence. If anything crops up later, then other arrangements can be made. But for all intents and purposes, this should be it. To the extent that Mr. Tabete's counsel would like to re-examine, we can allow that now, or if there is a problem, look at other arrangements. But otherwise, we can allow it now. I can
Thank you,
allow it,
Chairman.
yeah.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair.
Good afternoon.
Thank you. It is not my intention to be long, Chair.
Yes. We just want to clear up.
Given
just few
that
things.
Mr. Tabete's evidence has spanned quite a long period,
Yes.
and given how long it's taken to go through Mr. Tabete's evidence, I think
Yes.
some of the things need to come from him one more time to either be reaffirmed or
Yes.
clarified one last time. Mr. Tabete,
Yes.
if you may go through a couple of questions with me, please. Firstly, in your understanding as the former DG of the Department of Agriculture, Free State, the Estina Dairy Project, as it is known, very shortly, why did this project fail, in your view?
Yeah, thank you very much, Chair. Two things has happened, Chair. The withdrawal of the funding to the project which was an instruction by National Treasury to the National Department of Agriculture. Secondly, after, I think we had spoken to this, after a lengthy media interaction with Estina, they also, no, my apology, Chair, to Paras. They felt it very difficult for them to be able to proceed with the project until to the time where we decided we then going to terminate the agreement. So those are the things, Chair, that resulted to the project failing.
Right, thank you. The next question becomes about monies that the Department of Agriculture, Free State, either paid towards the project or paid towards Paras. Why were those monies paid if the project in essence never happened?
Chair, those monies were paid on the work done.
Please specify the work done.
Which, Chair, was what was done on the ground in terms of implementing the project.
Example?
The Chair, the details will be that the dairy plant was put in place, animals were procured, fields were planted, equipments were bought, and all those things we were able to verify on the ground to say this is what we had paid for.
Thank you. Now, how do you reconcile that answer with the evidence of the farmers of Vrede who've come and testified here that they never received any cattle or anything to that effect?
That's correct, Chair. They had not received because by the time we put the project on hold, we had not come to that phase where we would then give the farmers the cattle, where we would then transfer the projects to the beneficiaries. So we had not come to that stage. So their testimony was correct. They had not yet received.
So, but come back with me to the previous point. You said the money for, amongst other things, paid for cattle. Was that not what you just said?
Yeah, Chair, the money that was paid for the cattle was paid for the cattle on the project. Remember, there was a phase where animals would also be donated to farmers for them to be able to do the project, and then milk be collected and be put together with that of the project. The one in the project was the project of the farmers where they will jointly own, but they will have their own cattle on their farms where they will also, the department will then provide them with those cattle. So both these stages had not been referred to them yet.
So clarify for me this point. Were cattle purchased or not purchased?
Cattle were purchased, Chair, for the project site.
Where are those cattle today?
Chair, by the time I left the province, the cattle were on the project site.
Okay. Now, based on the evidence that you are taking through today, can you provide one aspect of clarity in terms of who the role players were? More specifically, the role of members of the Gupta family. What was their role in the entire scheme?
Chair, according to my understanding, they had no role in the scheme.
Well, I have to ask that question again, because you've already admitted to having a meeting at Saxonwold, have you not?
Yes, I have, Chair.
Now, would it reconcile then to say that they had no role in the scheme and yet you were at Saxonwold?
Yeah, Chair, my understanding is that the meeting that was organized for me was to meet the Paras people who were responsible, has the responsibility for implementing the project, but they never had a direct role to play in the implementation of the project.
So who was facilitating this meeting?
Chair, my understanding was that there was a person which I'm not able to identify who was facilitating the meeting.
Okay. Can you clarify this point? You say when you were arrested with one Gupta, is that correct?
That's correct, Chair.
Had you met him before?
I had not met him before, Chair.
Okay. Now, where I need you to take us through one more time is this aspect of you being at Saxonwold and the people you interact with at Saxonwold and the nature of the discussions of what happens when you arrive at Saxonwold. Can you just run us through that one more time, please?
Yeah, thank you very much, Chair. When I arrived at the meeting, I was introduced to people who came from Paras, and in that meeting, I was then requested to assist them with work permits. I then explained to them that the issue of the work permits needs to be facilitated for them by Estina. That was the nature of the meeting that I had attended, Chair.
Were you, after this issue became a public issue, were you interviewed by the public protector? At any point?
Chair, I was not interviewed by the public protector, only of late.
What do you mean by of late?
I only got an interview from the public protector, I think Chair, it was this year when the public protector was dealing with the participation of politicians. Then I was then asked and I was interviewed by the public protector.
Okay, 2 more points. Can you take us through this process of how these are the monies that were allocated to Estina were gazetted?
Chair, the money gets allocated after we have submitted our budget to Treasury, and then the MEC for Treasury presents the provincial budget speech, and if agreed, then the MEC then presents the budget speech to the legislature, and then after that has been done, the budget gets referred to a committee in the legislature that then interrogates and approves the budget. And once that committee has then agreed on the budget, then the budget gets gazetted.
Now, more specifically in this instance, the money that was gazetted, was this specifically for the Vrede Dairy project, or was this for a totality of other projects, of which the Vrede Dairy project was just one of?
Chair, my understanding is that we had explained exactly on the gazetting for what purpose the money was going to be used for. And we had also supplied the project list of all the gazettes where the money was going to be spent. It was not only the Vrede, but it was a list of Vrede plus other projects where amounts were indicated, how much is allocated to each project.
Okay. This last point, what was the role of the state law advisors in all the decisions that you took with regards to this project?
Chair, there were a number of instances that were referred to the state law advisors, more specifically when it came to drafting legal documents. Then the state law advisors will come in and advise us. Some will be in writing, some will be verbal.
Your testimony, the last time we were here, not today, went along the lines of saying that you prevented National Treasury from conducting certain investigations. Do you recall that?
I do, Chair.
In preventing National Treasury from conducting those investigations, did you consult with the state law advisors?
Chair, my understanding of preventing also included me preventing National Treasury to speak to the state law advisors, which I had said I do not understand why the investigation of National Treasury must seek permission from me to talk to the state law advisors.
I'm not sure if that's an answer to the question. Mr. Butulez, I don't know if you want to just put your question again to Mr. Tabet.
Okay.
I'll come back. You say right now you stopped National Treasury from conducting a certain investigation. Is that correct?
That's what they say, Chair.
What do you say?
It's not me who said I stopped them.
Okay, what do you say?
I had never stopped them to do the investigation, Chair. I have never stopped them. It's their report that says so.
What was your response to National Treasury when they wanted to conduct investigations?
National Treasury has been requesting documents from me, and they have been requesting meetings from me. But because they had told me they are coming to do an investigation. So there is no way I can say you can't do the investigation.
Mr. Tabete, we'll go back to your previous evidence, and I need you to clarify this point for the Commission and the Chair in particular. it was your evidence previously that you had certain misgivings about the information that National Treasury wanted. Do you remember?
Yes, Chair. I think that was relating to a particular meeting that they had requested to have with Ostina for the investigation. That was the particular one.
Can you provide more details, please?
Yeah, Chair, what I had indicated is that they had then requested to have a meeting with Ostina. What I then requested them is that in the first meeting that they're going to have with Ostina, we would then request the department to be part of the meeting so that we are able to deal with the issues that they had raised in terms of the intellectual property. That is what I had raised, Chair.
Now,
I'm sorry,
thank you.
my recollection is that you accepted that your attitude was that they should not have a meeting with Ostina if the department would not be represented. Is that right?
Chair, that's what I had raised with them.
Yeah, okay.
When news first broke or publicly became known around things happening around Ostina, were you still in the employ of the department at that time?
That's correct, Chair.
Do you know anything about monies that were paid into the Ostina project that paid for a wedding?
No, I don't know, Chair.
What was the department's response to those rumors surfacing?
Chair, we had to make our input. Most of the media came to us and wanted our viewpoint in terms of what they had raised, and we had made our input into that. At the same time, there were also questions that were raised to us at the legislature, which we were able to respond to that. No, we did not pay. And we were also asked to respond to, I'm trying to think because there were a number of requests that was looking for responses to us. Those that I can remember for now, I think those were the ones that we had to respond to say, no, that has not been correctly interpreted.
Now, help us understand, why then would a perception exist in as far as saying monies that the Department of Agriculture had paid into Ostina were used to finance a wedding? Can you give reasons as to why that conjecture would exist?
I don't know, Chair, where it came from.
Okay. And then when did you stop working at the department? Or are you still working there?
No, Chair. I last worked there at the end of April 2018.
That is last year.
2018, that's correct, Chair.
Can you give us details around the circumstances of your departure from the department?
Chair, my contract came to an end at the end of April 2018.
And what are you doing now?
Chair, I'm farming. I'm a pensioner. I'm farming.
Farming where?
In my home province, which is Mpumalanga in Ermelo.
Are you saying you have a farm, sir?
That's correct, Chair.
All right, thank you. No further questions, Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Buthelezi. Mr. Tabete, before I release you, is your evidence that you didn't have any meetings or telephone communications with anybody from the Gupta family unless the person who phoned you to arrange the meeting that you attended was a Gupta family member, because you said that one did phone you a few times or for quite some time.
That's correct, Chair.
So you had some communication with that person,
That's correct.
but was it only about that meeting?
It was about the meeting, Chair.
Yes. And when you say he did call you a few times or whatever, a number of times, it would have been around the time of the meeting?
Yes, sir, to confirm, are you coming?
Yes, yes.
That's correct, Chair.
No, not at any other time.
That's correct, Chair.
Okay, all right.
Chairman, with your leave, there's one aspect I indicated in my introduction that I would like to put to Mr. Tabete.
Yes,
And it's a
okay.
very small point.
Yes, okay.
It's just the dairy companies and the affidavits, Mr. Tabete, that we were able to get from the NPA dockets. So we have an affidavit from Parmalat. There's one from Nestle, South Africa. And there's one from dairy farmers who really represent Clover. The long and short of what they say is, at no stage did you invite them to form part of either a think tank around the Vrede Dairy project or involve them in any way in the Vrede Dairy project. That's contrary to what you have stated, that you reached out to them and they were not interested. Do you have a comment on that?
Chair, I still stand on my witnessing that we did consult them.
Those affidavits, Chairman, can be found in reference bundle F at pages 2072 all the way to page 2113.
Yes. Do we know whether the persons who have deposed to the affidavits would have been the persons that he would have talked to?
Chairman, they speak in their representative capacities representing the organization, having done a search within the organization
Yes.
to establish
Yes.
the facts
Yes.
that were then put to them
Yeah.
regarding what Mr. Tabete and the department had said, even prior to the commission
Yes.
starting, Chairman.
Yes.
So these are in fact 2018 affidavits
Yes.
that were sourced for purposes of the NPA
Yeah.
investigations.
Okay. Do you remember the names of the persons that you met with or interacted with who came from the local companies that you said you invited to come on board and partner with the department on this project, but they were not interested? Do you remember the names of the persons you spoke to?
Yeah, Chair, I would not remember exactly, but it was the local people in the Free State.
Have you seen the affidavits that she is talking about?
No, I haven't seen them, Chair.
They are NPA affidavits in the sense that they were obtained by the NPA.
Correct, Chairman.
But he has not seen them.
No, he has not, Chairman. They're in the reference
Bundle.
unless he's seen them prior to
Yeah, no,
his hearing.
I think they should be made available to him and his lawyers, and then maybe he can then put in a supplementary affidavit, because it may be that once he has seen them, he is able to either remember having dealt with the people, or he might have something to say. I think let's do it that way.
That's fine, Chairman.
Yes. So, Mr. Tabete, you'll get copies via your lawyers, and then a supplementary affidavit should be delivered to the commission, where you comment on the contents of those affidavits.
Okay, that's correct, Chair. I'll do
Okay,
so.
all right.
Thank you, Chairman.
In terms of timeframes, in terms of, I think we have talked about 2 supplementary affidavits now that Mr. Tabete must put in. Let's say within 14 days, Mr. Mcheles, would that be fine? Yeah, within 14 days from today. Okay, all right. Unless there is something else, Ms. Tabashe, I'm going to release Mr. Tabete.
My colleague is reminding me that Mr. Tabete had earlier on indicated that he would want to respond to the ENS report. But
Oh,
I
yes.
have assumed that he has elected not to do so.
No, actually, I was thinking there is supposed to be something on which he was supposed to comment. Yes, no, thank you for that. Mr. Tabete, you remember that arrangement?
Yeah, Chair, I wanted to last time, but when I interacted with the lawyers, we chose not to, Chair.
Well, if you choose not to, it will mean that except that which you may have disputed while on the witness stand, it may mean that I will take it that you have no issues with the report. Is that fine? That is for that is for you, Mr. Tabete. So I will take it that you have no issues with the report, because if you had issues, you would articulate them and you would have used the opportunity to do so.
Yeah, Chair, let me say, we will respond to it together with these ones. We will be able to say, yes, we don't have issues, or yes, we have issues.
But you were given time and you said, you just told me you made an election, Mr. Tabete. We are going to leave it on the basis that you elected not to do anything, but should you and your lawyers later on think that might not have been the right decision, your lawyers will know how it should be handled.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much, Mr. Tabete, for having come to give evidence. If anything arises with regard to further investigations, or if any further clarification is required, you will be contacted. But for now, thank you very much, and you are excused.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. That's where we will leave it for today. Are there other Estina witnesses? There was the one witness who was going to talk about members of parliament at some stage.
Chairman, there is a supplementary affidavit that was prepared by Mr. Jankelson, but that evidence doesn't fit squarely within the Estina Vrede Dairy Farm evidence. I believe that will fall within the Free State work stream. Yes, Chairman. Then, of course, we have a few other witnesses whom we are serving Rule 10.6 notices on.
Yes.
And we will then schedule those hearings when
Yeah.
it's convenient for you to schedule them.
Okay, all right. No, thank you very much. We are going to adjourn for the day, and tomorrow we will start at 10 o'clock, and the evidence will be relating to certain matters connected with the new age. We adjourn.